Hello everyone, and welcome to another speed build video in The Sims 4. My name is Simon, and it is so great to see you here. Today I'm doing another challenge. It is Nina's No Wall Challenge. That is at Nina Sims on Instagram. And well, the name basically says it all. I'm not allowed to use any walls, and I decided to go for the industrial palette that came with Eco Lifestyle as my main item that I would use as a substitute for walls. And what I'm building is like a wooden shack, like in the woods. I pictured a societal dropout living there, Henry David Thoreau Walden style, kind of that way. And this kind of lifestyle, I think, has become a little bit more relevant in most recent years again, since awareness of climate change has become more prominent, and an alternative lifestyle to like the very wasteful lifestyle that we've grown accustomed to has become a little bit more desirable. Not necessarily like leaving society behind, but in the movements of like tiny homes and generally just going back to the roots and like reducing your consumption and all these kind of movements. And in theory, these ideas are very similar to what Henry David Thoreau said like 150 years ago, and I find that very fascinating. But we're getting off topic here. Let's talk about the build. So I wanted to use these industrial palettes, and I used them before on a treehouse before. This was not like I didn't do YouTube back then, but I do have it on my Instagram. I did use walls for that though, so I plopped the pallets outside on the wall and had a weatherproof structure inside that you do not necessarily have here. But I did use two foundations, which I was allowed to. You will see that later on. I put one like in the inside of the shack to kind of give it a little bit more structure, so it's not like just an even base. And I build like a second floor, so to speak, and use that foundation as like a shield from the rain. So underneath, so this is going to be like a patio situation on the rooftop of this shack, and underneath there is I will place the bed, and therefore the Sims are theoretically will stay dry when they're sleeping, but I don't necessarily know how that really works in gameplay. I haven't play tested it in that regard. I only play tested it in regards to functionality, and everything will be functional, as you will see later on. So that is something I'm kind of proud of, because with these unconventional builds, that's not often the case. Most of the times this really doesn't work out. You just saw that he was able to walk in there, but as I go along in this building process, like everything will be usable. And this wasn't really part of the challenge. Nina even put in the description of the challenge in the rules that we should not care about functionality, but I feel like this is, I don't know, kind of my brand, so to speak. I do want my builds to be playable. So I do not just want this to be an art project. I do want it to be very artsy, pretty, and creative and everything, but I do also want people to be able to use it for their gameplay. And especially with a house like this, that now that we have the off-the-grid feature, lot trade for a while now, and all the eco lifestyle features such as water collecting and producing your own energy, and therefore I really wanted this to be playable, or at least that players have the option to use this for their gameplay. It might be a little bit difficult camera-wise because the palettes, the structure is kind of obstructing the view a little bit on the inside. But again, I just wanted this to be, I wanted people to have the option to play with this, and it is totally playable. Yeah. So here's, you see the ladder works, and this is this patio kind of lookout that I put on top of the shack, and I will put on a roof onto all of this later on. Now there you see me build that other foundation. that kind of gives the inside a little bit more of a structure in a platform sense, but I use a regular foundation for that. And yeah, later I cover all of this structure with roof, but not with like regular roof from the build mode, but from with an awning that came with I think it's Island Living, the one that has like these colorful metal roofs. Yeah, that one. And I sized that up and down and put it all over the roof. You will see that in a bit. But here I am building a tiny little pond that is going all around the shack. And yeah, I love doing this kind of landscaping. It looks like a lot of work, but it really isn't. It's like, create your outline, and then you just take these debug rocks that are also like in a linear shape, so you don't have to like place rocks one by one, but you already have like your line that you just have to place along the outline of the pool that you created there. And then you make the water dirty with the get together swatches and yeah, some plants, some water lilies, and it looks pretty great without a lot of effort. I use this debug bridge here for the entrance area, and in itself it is non-functional, and initially I wanted to leave it like that, and that's why I created this little gap in between the two ponds on the left side of the shack. But I later changed that, so I left this little gap that I envisioned as some kind of like shallow part of the pond that people could like just walk through. But I made the debug bridge functional by using this technique that you use to build like on top of a pool, and therefore I used another foundation that I put onto like a small room that I would then bury in the ground, and then I pulled that foundation over to the other side away from the room, deleted the room, and then you just have that foundation floating above the water. And in this case you don't even see it, so it is hidden underneath the debug bridge, and the Sims can actually walk over it. So stay tuned for the house tour at the end, and you will see that it's actually usable and looks really great. You see in the back there that I built a deck over one part of the pond, but I will delete that later on because I really didn't like how that looked. It looked so glaringly different to everything else on the lot. You have this very natural looking like weathered debug bridge there, and then there's this deck that just looks very oddly shaped. And I later deleted that, and I added some, I think I added a car wreck in that pond, so it is not really like a usable space anymore. But I felt like there was enough space for the Sims to use, and this deck wasn't really all that necessary. And again, but I did that purely based on aesthetics because I think it looks a little bit ugly and so different from everything else that I just wanted it to be gone. And yeah, but here it still is there. This will be like the backyard kind of area in the end. Put a grill there and some seating area, and yeah, but the deck I felt wasn't really necessary and looked weird. So yeah, these are the finishing touches on the landscaping. I did by the end add a one of those bushes from Get Together that you could use as a toilet, so that will be like the sanitary part of this build. I felt it was very true to the theme, but I did add a shower later on, the university one that you know which one. And here I'm building the roof. So as you can see, as I said before, I did not use the regular build mode roof, but I did use these awnings. And on some parts I had to size them down here, because like here, and on other parts like next to it I had to size them up, because I didn't want them to be you know, intersecting, so there was no visual glitch and they wouldn't stick out from each other. And here I realized that I could not turned them with tool. So I was not able to create like a flat roof as I intended, but I then had to make a gabled roof instead. But I'm really not mad at it in the end, because it looks pretty good with that little gable on the side. This is a nice little feature that really kind of elevated it a little bit more, and it wasn't really part of my initial design, so that was like a nice change of events. You see, this roof on the other end was a little bit more difficult to figure out. I went through a couple of versions until I got to this one, and this one isn't even the final one. So I put the posts around the fencing there, and then later on I delete the inner roof parts and size down the pallets so that I would just have like a brim of a roof. And yeah, you see me there, I'm deleting it. And then have some vines on top of that, because I just couldn't figure it out. It was not possible to kind of position the roofing and the pallets in a sort of way that wouldn't look weird and intersecting and glitchy, like there you see it there on the front of the house. I was able to cover this tiny little part with plants, but I felt like it would be a little bit distracting from the entire design of the house if I would cover the patio with so many plants as well. So I was fine with it, like in this small spot there, to kind of hide this overlapping of the pallets and the roofing, but I didn't want this entire house to be overgrown with plants. So as you might imagine, this house is off the grid, so there's no real kitchen there, and the only like appliance to cook food is the grill. And I think you can cook or grill plantains, right? So I put a plantain tree somewhere around the lot so that Sims could actually like harvest these and put them on the grill, and some other plants, as you can see there. So these are already pre-grown, so when you decide to use this house for your gameplay, you already have a head start. And we'll be soon moving into the inside, and there's not a lot to decorate, as you might already have realized. So I put like an easel and some things to relax on this patio area, and on the inside there is a sitting area that is kind of like boho chic, so I used a lot of rugs again to cover the ground, which I also used for my boho rooftop bar. So if you're interested in me doing this technique on an entire rooftop bar, you might want to check that one out. And then there's a bedroom area, and that's pretty much it. So just the necessities, back to basics, back to the roots. Reduce, reuse, recycle. And with that, I will end this here. So please stick around for the room tour at the end. I use Sims that are not necessarily societal dropouts. They are looking more like they use this as a weekend getaway. But stick around nonetheless. I put a lot of work into these cinematic shots at the end as well, as I do with the build. And if you like this video, please leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. The challenge is still open until June 1st, so there's still plenty of time for you to join and come up with a creative idea to not use walls. So yeah, get those wheels turning, come up with a great idea. Look for at Nina Sims on Instagram for the details, and check out her other content. She's also a very talented builder. Check my Instagram for additional content. It's taffissimo_builds. Find this build on the gallery. My ID is taffissimo, just as the name of this channel. And I guess that's it. You will now see me playtest this one last time, and then you will see the house tour. So enjoy that one, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.